Good afternoon and welcome to PETE&C 2021. My name is Brant Hutzel and I will serve as a manager for this session. Please be sure to engage with the session's presenters using the chat functions and share your thoughts and ideas for a conference on social media using hashtag PETE&C and VPETE 2021. Today I'm very pleased to bring you the session, Making the Most Out of Your Pandemic Technology. I would like to introduce Ramon Aviles, who will kick us off. Ramon?
Thank you, Brett, and welcome everyone. And thanks PETE&C for making this actually possible. I'm glad to bring all these educators together from across Pennsylvania, so we're happy you joined us today. My name is Ramon Aviles. As Brad mentioned, I am the VP of Sales for Visual Sound Audio Visual Solutions. And co-presenting with me today is Cori Frede, also from Visual Sound, an educational consultant and trainer. And we're pleased to present today's session, Making the Most Out of Your Pandemic Technology. We hope to bring you some ideas where we can show you how you can repurpose some of your technology equipment purchased for hybrid mobile solutions during the pandemic. You know, some of the quick questions is how can I use the existing equipment or equipment that we bought and repurpose them? So I'm pleased to work with Cori, who not only is an ex-teacher and understands the classroom environment, but also an exceptional and instructional technology specialist who holds numerous certifications. So I'm glad I'm not identifying them right now because it'll probably take too long to name them all. So anyway, we encourage each one of you to be highly interactive and ask some questions during this session. And if you have any, just put it in the chat box and we'll get to those questions as we can. And if not, if there's some outstanding questions at the end, we'll get to them. But to that no further avail, Cori, I want you to go ahead and start, if you don't mind.
All right, you know, nothing makes me blush as much as when Ramon introduces me because he likes to front load all of the side A stuff about me, all the good stuff. So thank you for making me blush on a camera that I zoomed in on myself this session. All right, so as Ramon mentioned, I am the educational consultant at Visual Sound. So while all the account managers and Ramon have been helping with the back end, the networking, the actual what camera's best for what location, I've been I've been helping with the practical, the how to aim the camera, where to aim the camera, how to use the equipment to best serve your teacher. So what we want to talk about today is, right now our teachers are working remotely. As you can see, I obviously have a camera that's separate from my computer, and a lot of your teachers have done stuff like that as well. What do you do with this equipment though once we're back in the classroom? So that's kind of what today's session is going to be about. Is we don't want you to take all this stuff that you purchased over the past year during the crisis and stick it in a closet to collect dust, because that would have been a waste. So we want to help you with the repurposing and help your teachers to use this equipment when they're back in the, I guess we could say the new normal, because I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way things were completely, but we're going to find a new way to do things and it's going to be amazing. So to just start, first of all, watching all the teachers this year working remotely and going from that crisis mode to the teaching mode has been incredible for me. Kind of makes me miss the classroom, to be honest, but you know, we are where we are. I would like to start by asking you all a question, and if you want to put your answers in the chat, that would be wonderful. So what type of technology did you purchase specifically during 2020 for this crisis? Did you purchase your teachers' microphone headsets? Did you purchase webcams? Did you purchase those plastic dividers to put around your students' desks? What type of stuff did you purchase to help your teachers when this crisis was first beginning, or as we came into the beginning of 2020 and realized, or into the beginning of the current school year, the 2020-2021 year, realizing, hey, we're going to stay like this for a bit. All right, I see Jennifer wrote wireless headsets. Okay, let's see what else we get in the chat. And we want this session to be interactive, so please use that chat box, participate with us. Ramon and I can just drone on. We get kind of into this sometimes. Webcams, virtual AR programs for the CTE labs, mics, headsets, microphone neck bands, the plexiglass dividers, Bluetooth. Oh, Catherine personally bought herself a Chromebook, iPad, and Apple Pencil. Rebecca said hotspots for the students. Thomas got more Chromebooks. Haley, I would have loved to have had you as an administrator when I was in the classroom. Almost anything they asked for. I love you, Haley. Trisha got drawing tablets. All right. So a lot of great stuff. And we're going to talk about repurposing it. So some of the stuff we're not really going to repurpose. For example, Chromebooks. Your students might not need to take them home every day, but we're living in that world right now where students should have their own devices. We need to prepare them for the future. And having those one-to-one devices are going to be great, even when they're back in the physical classroom. So we'll talk about some software options. So even if you're all sitting in the same room, you are able to use those Chromebooks still effectively with your students. Let's see, Christine just wrote she got the Wacom tablet. Those things are awesome. I've played with them a little bit. So just a lot of great stuff. So now the next question I want to ask you guys is, currently, plan-wise, how do you plan on continuing to use that technology as you move to that new form of normalcy? As you come back, as your teachers are getting vaccinated and feeling safe in the school building, and as Governor Wolf, and I don't actually know who our current Secretary of Health is because Secretary Levine has moved on to Washington to help at the national level. But when Pennsylvania finally comes up with this plan at the state level and we're all going back to schools and our students are all coming back to schools, what are your current plans? What do you think you're going to be doing with this?
They're thinking about it.
Yeah, you got to give them wait time. Your thing. You have to give a wait time.
And
all right. If you guys want to put stuff in the chat, we'll keep going back to that chat a little bit, but we don't want to just sit in silence if you're thinking, because I know you got those thinking hats on. It's 3:50. Some of you are done with your day already. Rebecca wrote, we're going to offer our own cyber academy and continue both in person and virtual. Haley said they think they're still going to have remote students. That is some great stuff. And just so you know, I do know there are some sessions in PETE&C, not from us, that are specifically about those virtual academies. And we have some amazing people in PAECT that have started running those. Reading School District, great example of a successful virtual academy. So definitely check those sessions out if your school district is thinking about going in that route. All right, so Ramon, I'm going to let you talk about the next slide, which is this, the ideas that we had come up with at the beginning of all of this.
so back in March, we started getting some ideas saying, what can the classroom use? What items can we repurpose if we didn't think this pandemic was going to last this long, obviously in March. So we started selecting products in here. If you notice, we start with number one. So soft codec Zoom, everyone at that point, we didn't know that we were going to Zoom, Google, etc. But number two is a unique product, and the speakerphone with integrated microphones. We did extremely well with that particular product. That particular product basically picks up the entire classroom with echo cancellation built into it, so you don't get the echoes and things of that nature. So start thinking about the space. So we started thinking about PETE&C cameras. And it was ironic because everyone said, hey, look, let's go to USB cameras or a PETE&C camera. Do you invest a little bit more? Early on, we thought we were going to repurpose those into studios, and you're going to see some of the other factors why we were selecting PETE&C cameras on a tripod, obviously for the positioning of the camera, as Cori mentioned earlier. And then wireless whiteboarding. We saw Wacom, and we saw actually other digital technology on there. And then the fifth one you see on here is actually the front row sound system, which enhances the audio in the classroom. How's that teacher going to hear us? The students rather going to hear the teacher with the mask on and vice versa. So there are technologies in there that we could actually repurpose. And that was the early days. And, I say early days because it was March literally when we came up with this solution. And things changed since then. The space changed, the teaching methods changed. So it was very interesting to see how it evolved. And Cori, let's move over to the next slide to kind of show them a little bit more details. So here's a portable solution. So these we were selling quite a bit. One of the challenges, obviously, was the teachers seeing the far-end participants, right? So we decided to come in with a relatively low-end solution in this particular case. You see the web conferencing soundbar on the top, so you actually had the camera, the sound system, and the microphone. And then you actually had a wireless control module that you see in the middle of the screen there that could control the actual sound without being behind the desk. So this gave you that visual look. And so we're thinking at this point, hey, look, they can repurpose not only the monitor, obviously, for digital signage, you can repurpose the actual soundbar for smaller pod areas, and the display digital splitter, obviously that can be used in many applications. So these were kind of the early on ideas, mobile devices, we had cards and things of that nature. Let's move forward, Cori.
Okay. Well, you can control the slides too, Ramon.
I needed one of them wireless mics. Thank you. So thinking about the cameras, and again, here's a wide variety of them, and we were actually coming up with solutions that provided several one of these. If you see the jabber on the top right, that one's actually a panoramic camera that actually picks up 180 degrees. So think about it, 180 degrees. I could be almost sitting up to a screen and would have picked me up in less than a foot from the left side of an actual display. So that one was popular in respect to picking up the entire classroom. So there's different type of cameras, and we were being very selective in respect to the application in the classroom, and that was changing as we went along. And obviously with the USB there, and you have the pan and tilt cameras. One of the biggest challenges during the entire pandemic was the USB connectivity with the extension of only 16 feet cable. And granted, the camera would need to be further than 16 feet from the teacher station to connect the wireless cameras, or rather the mobile camera. So that's been a challenge, USB, not to mention the demand. How many teachers out there were trying to find a USB camera and couldn't find one? So we had to go into resources out of Taiwan and many other locations to find products to meet not only the current demand for the classroom, but maybe utilizing the same cameras in other spaces as we move forward. Let's go ahead, Cori, you want to kind of take over this one a little bit. This is a very nice app.
All right, so we wanted to just show you this setup because this picture actually came from Harvard, as you can tell by the Harvard logo in the images. But it just kind of shows what a teacher's view might look like with this technology. And what's great about this is it really does open those classrooms up for you. So as Patricia mentioned, if we have some kids that are extended sick absences, maybe the parents wanted to take them somewhere, or snow days, which I really hope that our kids continue to have snow days because I think the social aspect is so important. But, it's not up to me. It's up to the school districts and the state, obviously. But this is something with Harvard, how they had it set up. So the teacher can see the view that their remote students are having. So that screen in the front is showing the teacher what the remote students are seeing. They're seeing the entire lecture hall. But then that teacher, they're seeing the students that are currently in the classroom, but if you notice on that back wall, they have those monitors, and they can see all of those students that are virtually entering the class. And this is a really beneficial thing because some of you guys have seen this where, you're staring, like even right now, Ramon and I are doing this webinar for you. We don't see any of your faces. So if you're not participating in the chat, I'm kind of just talking to a camera and hoping people are listening. When I've done some Zoom professional developments, I'll just see the black boxes with names. And unless they come off mute and ask questions, I have no idea if I'm actually talking to people or talking to a camera. So it's really nice to have that availability to see your students. And because it's in the back of the room, the teacher can walk around and still see those students. So going back to that picture that Ramon showed before with the cart, that monitor allows you as the teacher to see your students while you are actually teaching. So you still have your computer and your smart panel or your projector, however you're displaying things within the classroom, but you'll be able to see those remote students, and that really makes a huge difference. The other thing you'll notice is even right now, I keep looking at my computer screen to look at the chat. And when I do that, because the camera is all the way up here, I'm not looking at you. And that eye contact is so important as well. So by having the students up closer to where the camera is, it's going to help you connect with those remote students. So whether you're currently in this situation where you're sitting at a desk just talking to your computer, or if you are doing that hybrid model and having those parent-teacher conferences or having those remote students, that is going to be a really beneficial thing to have a screen near your camera wherever your camera ends up being located. So some other things that we wanted to show you now, this is going to be more for the higher ed or for schools that allow kids to use cell phones, because this is an app for Android and iOS. But this crowd mic is an incredible thing, because how many of you right now have an auditorium where maybe you have like one microphone that you pass around when you're having like school-wide meetings, or if you're doing like an award ceremony, any of those type of things. This app here, this crowd mic, will allow your teacher to moderate. So you can turn on anyone's app if they ask for permission, but then they can talk into their phone and it would amplify on your auditorium speaker system. So rather than have to pass a microphone around, they can use their own devices. So that's going to be another thing, is rather than purchase, enough microphones for every kid in the room, you can use this app. And Ramon can talk more about the back end of the app if you want to, Ramon, or we can just move on. That's up to you.
Yeah, just make a couple other comments from an application perspective. The software out there allows some polling. Also, you generally would use other devices like the computer and or your Chromebook and things of that nature. So it has capability of doing a polling with texting and things of that nature. The other thing it allows is that it can ask questions. If the student is too shy to use the microphone, you could actually text a question to the instructor or teacher. So you always get that participation within a crowd. So there's a lot of other applications like this. And that's why I wanted to have this session to start throwing some ideas of how you can connect the system. It actually connects via Wi-Fi. There's a module that you would actually connect it to your Wi-Fi network, and it's all Wi-Fi connectivity.
All right, and just to show you an example of what a classroom kind of looks like right now, Ramon found this image of a class that is back in session, and you'll notice this is actually the school's gymnasium. So because of social distancing, they had to take this small class and take up the entire basketball court. Well, we all know, how many of you have been in your school gymnasium, even when the gym teacher has everyone silent and you try to talk, and between the mats and the basketball court, the echoes, you cannot be heard. So this is something that even after we return to normal, this big space is still used. A lot of high school gymnasiums don't have really good audio systems. So the systems that you're purchasing for your individual classrooms right now can be repurposed into those gymnasiums. They can be repurposed into your auditoriums. So in a way, you're using it temporarily in the small classrooms, but in the long term, it's going to be something you can use in those bigger spaces to make things a lot easier for everyone. The cameras, for example, right now, I'm using this camera in a pretty small space, but I could actually zoom out. And if I had this camera in the gymnasium, I could use it to stream a basketball game or stream a pep rally. So all those different types of things can be, as I zoom in way too far, all those different types of things can be done with these cameras when we're done with social distancing. So don't think of it as just the classroom. Think of it for the future as well. How many of your students enjoy green screening? It is one of the most fun things to do. ELA classes, social studies classes, it doesn't necessarily need to be a film class. And if you're going to have all of these extra cameras in your school building now, your teachers and your students are going to have these opportunities to try these type of things that might otherwise not have been possible with the equipment you had pre-shutdown. So it's a lot of really cool stuff.
So Cori, there was a question real quick on a crown mic. A question came up, how does it connect to the sound system? It actually has an output, audio output that would connect as an input to the sound system. Connects on a Wi-Fi as a mobile device, so it would need to be relatively close to your sound system on there. There's other means that we could actually transport, which is Dante Digital Over Networks, that we have other means of actually transporting the audio over the actual network. So there's multiple means we could actually get that and stream it.
All right. So I actually wanted to show one more picture with the repurposing of the cameras, and that is for the CTE teachers. You know, everyone loves the Food Network. How many of you just spent all of this time during shutdowns and quarantines just watching Food Network and Lifetime and all of these do-it-yourself channels? Well, we could repurpose these cameras for the CTE classes, and they can use it so they can make their own cooking shows, because you might need, you know, one camera aimed down at their cutting boards and one camera aimed at the chef. And I'm making weird hand motions right now, but you know, all of these different setups that you can do so your students can get that real world experience. They can do some fun things with it. And that's a great way to repurpose it, because even though right now you might have one camera per classroom, when this is over, you're going to have 50, 60 cameras in your building. They don't all need to stay in the individual classrooms. You can put them maybe in the auditorium, put 3 cameras at different angles. So when your students are doing their spring musical, you can record it from those different angles and get a really good final video product. So when the students graduate and leave, they have that memory of their performance. So all of these different things are great ways to repurpose the cameras.
So there was another question that said we could probably perhaps address it offline, but it was a relatively quick question in reference to a tracking camera. They're very popular. I want to make 2 points on that. Tracking cameras were relatively very high in cost. This one here, perfect timing, by the way, the Poly Studio USB. Oh, okay, I already say. So the Poly Studio USB camera actually tracks via facial. So there's multiple different types of tracking. So you need to select the right camera. And the scenario question is said that room amplification will affect the beaming microphone pickup type of cameras. Those are totally different. So there's different options, and that's why we're saying selecting the appropriate product that you can repurpose it, and that's one key. So facial recognition, to answer that question, the camera should use facial recognition. This particular one would actually take a 120-degree view of the room. If 2 people walked in, so I'm a presenter, and my student walks in and walks up to the board, it will actually know there's 2 people, and it's not tracking by sound, by sight, so it would actually open up and take both views. It has multiple settings. By the way, it has, believe it or not, a feature that's been out for quite some time called an acoustical fence, which you can limit the sound that is picking up in the classroom. Looking at the image in front of you, if I was an instructor up front or a teacher, I could actually set my bandwidth or my pickup zone in that classroom to be very specific and not pick up background noise from other area. So there's a lot of new technology. The other point I wanted to make is that cost, because everything is going into a USB and UC environments, that cost is going to drop. For example, we're looking at a tracking camera before the pandemic were relatively maybe up to about $2,000, anywhere to $10,000, depending on the technology. You can find them now at sub $1,000, even half of that cost. in this particular one, I think MSRP is around $800. It has your sound system, has your USB connectivity, it has your microphone, it has your tracking camera, it has everything in one unit. And that cost is just going to continue dropping down as you see different manufacturers designing different technology or this to meet the classroom environment nowadays.
So something I just want to point out to everyone is, as we mentioned at the beginning, I'm more of the trainer person. Ramon and his team of engineers are amazing. And they're going to talk to you about the space, and they're going to make sure whichever camera they recommend and whichever products are going to fit that space the best, but also have that repurposing capability. So for example, if I go back to that slide that had all of the different cameras on it,
Are you there yet? She might have hit the wrong button.
wrong button, I went to switch slides and I.
There you go.
All right, what I was gonna say is here with this picture of all the webcams, for instance, right now, I am using this one right here. And that is what I currently have looking at me from the tripod in this little studio that I have. But I could have used one like this as well. So this is the more traditional webcam that your teachers probably purchased for themselves, or you just went to staples.com and bought. Someone like Ramon and our team of engineers, they'd be able to help you compare that. Ramon mentioned that the Jabra has that 180-degree angle. He'll tell you if you need that in your space or if it's overkill. He's really honest, and he's honest to a fault, so I'll give him that one. He will not sell you something that won't work for you because he wants you to be happy. And it's the same thing with any of these cameras. They're going to purposely get you the camera that's best for your teachers. In fact, one of the school districts that we work with recently just started purchasing, you guys have probably seen one of these before, document cameras. These document cameras have 4K, and because they have these angles and these hinges to them, they could actually be put straight. So right now, while the teacher is teaching remotely, they're using the document cameras as an external webcam. It's showing their front of the room. It's showing their face a little more clearly. But when they go back into the physical classroom, they can bend it down at the hinge, and they have document cameras. If you have document cameras that are 5 or 6 years old, not going to be good for a webcam because they're not going to have the right, frames per second. Just think of it this way. If you wave your hand in front of the camera and you can see like 5 versions of your hand, it is not good to be using it as a webcam. It's not fast enough. But these newer document cameras, and it's multiple brands, it's not just a single, so I don't want you to think we're telling you to buy one specific one. But all of these newer document cameras that came out within the past year, maybe 2 years, Ramon, you could tell me what the technology age-wise is. But within the last year at least, all of these document cameras can double as a webcam. So that is a great repurposing. You're buying something to use temporarily as a webcam, but it'll always be in your classrooms. And we all know, like, I've been in the classroom for over 10 years. I use those document cameras all the time before I had an interactive panel, because you would put the paper, you'd call kids up and they'd write under the camera. It would show up for everyone. Same idea, only now because of those hinges and the higher quality camera, it can double as a webcam. Christine just wrote the school she was previously at bought all the teachers' document cameras. So that's what I mean. It's a technology that is serving a double purpose, and that's kind of the point right now. We want that double purpose. We don't want stuff that's going to just sit in a closet collecting dust when this is all over. And this will be over. We all know it's going to end. It has to end, right?
So it's a good point, but it's, you also have to consider, and I deal with a lot. We represent over 300 manufacturers, so I have an inside track on some of the manufacturers, what's happening. I was warned that because of the CARES Funding Act and the pandemic and the need of these cameras, there's going to be a shortage on this camera very soon. So I'm just putting it out there that need to kind of make a decision relatively quick, because just like the pandemic last year, around the June timeframe, you couldn't find a camera. We literally had, and I think I mentioned that, went to Taiwan. I was finding manufacturers in Taiwan and other areas, other countries, to find available product. So just a fair warning, that's going to happen again.
All right, so we just got the 15-minute warning. And the other things I wanted to talk to you guys about is something that people are buying right now because of masks, but it's something that's really going to make a difference. So I just want to show you this. It right here on my desk right now, I'm using this speaker right here. This is the Jabra. And the reason why schools are buying things like this is because when you put the mask on, the teacher's voice is getting masked, it's getting muffled, it's getting messed up. And even students that don't have hearing disabilities are going to start having issues hearing. Haley just said she can't see me. Hang on. My camera's on.
I can see you.
I just turned off our slide deck for a second. Can you see me now, Trevor and Haley? No, they say they can't see me. Okay. Okay, Darren says he can see. So when I put the mask on, even people who are fully hearing, no disabilities whatsoever. All right, so some people can't see. I don't know. I apologize.
So go to the slide then.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the slide. So because the mask is going to muffle, and you guys have probably seen this. How many of you gone to the grocery store and you have to like yell at the deli counter and they still can't hear you, or Starbucks and they can't figure out what drink you want? So some of these systems are really great. So this one is called the Front Row. And then we also have one called the Red Cat. And both of these systems are speaker systems with microphones that are going to allow, thank you, Ramon, for getting that slide up. They're going to allow you to amplify your voice without yelling, because we all know that teachers are notorious for the teacher voice. And how many of you have gone to sessions in live conferences where the person goes, I have a teacher voice, and I don't need a microphone. You can all hear me, right? You know there's going to be that one embarrassed person that doesn't want to admit that they can't hear. And even those of us who have good hearing struggle to hear sometimes. And again, the masks just make that even worse. So these systems here are going to make it so that the teacher can be heard clearly without having to yell. And I believe, Ramon, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, newer buildings are actually building these type of systems into the walls, into the audio systems of the entire building, because it has to do with the ADA and all of those laws for disabilities.
So a couple of things to point out. She mentioned Red Cat, that's the one on the left. And the one she had on the desk that some of you haven't seen is the one on the top called a Jabra. That's a USB connectivity, simple USB 2. And you have this other one right below it. These two are key features when you're looking at speakerphones. You're going to find many out there. Echo cancellation. So if you look at these microphones, these actually have built-in 360-degree microphone pickup. So it doesn't matter where you're walking in the classroom, left, right, front, back, will pick you up. The key factor in here is that if you turn on the speaker, because that's actually your speaker also for your local students, it's actually the microphone for your foreign students. So if I turn my speaker all the way on your traditional speakerphone, you would get an echo. You normally hear that at times, even with the Zoom calls, and if you're not careful, if you're using external speakers, etc., you can get echo cancellation. That technology has gotten a lot better. But specifically in these two items, you need to start looking at technology that includes echo cancellation built into it. And then the one on the right, which is the lanyard microphone, and that one does room reinforcement. And that one actually allows you, as Cori was saying, wearing a mask and walking anywhere. But we actually integrate that one with the Bluetooth technology. The lanyard's actually IR, it's line of sight, with the actual tower speaker that you're looking at. But it has interfaces with your laptop via Bluetooth connectivity. So there's a lot of other options out there, and I think Cori, let's move forward. I think there might be a couple other items that wanted to.
No, that's actually it, Ramon. For we did have some examples of pictures of teachers using the items in use. We did get a question in the chat though. Thomas would like to know if crowd mics have echo cancellation. So that app we were talking about before, you are the expert on that one. So I'm gonna let you answer that.
So from echo cancellation, no, it generally picks up. Think about your phone, right? So it knows from a technology, it actually picks up just the phone. And the phone technology, microphone on your phones are pretty good nowadays, especially your iPhones. If you think about it, it actually kind of cancels out other pickup around you. So typically, since you actually put that into your sound systems, most sound systems has the EQ in it. So the echo cancellation is not built in, but it does have the technology to know which mic is picking up and how you can control it. That's how you can control it versus for echo cancellation. But to answer your technology, from a technology, it does not have echo cancellation.
Something
but it has,
else.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say something else I wanted to point out about that echo cancellation. If you ever want to see what it's like to not have the echo cancellation, turn on your computer's speakers with an external microphone and see how that ends up making the echo worse in a Zoom call, because that's the greatest example. Is if you're using two separate devices, the microphone is going to pick up the speaker, and because of the way the sound waves travel, it's going to just go back and forth between the mic and the speakers and make that echo even worse. So these devices that have that echo cancellation technology in them are going to reduce that effect, because it's working together to fight it rather than with it. It's a great, just a little quick demo of how it works, is to try something that doesn't have it and then try something that has it.
So earlier, this picture, I asked Cori to put this picture in, and specifically to think about the headset. You know, that's a very simple item that is being used everywhere. And got to be very selective in it. And this particular one here is a poly headset. They actually merged with Platronics. That's a familiar name in the industry. And the key there I wanted to mention, there's certain products that allows you to have a 2-year warranty. Doesn't matter who breaks it, drops it, or no questions asked. So be very selective when you start looking at products. And then some of them actually has, think about the wireless one. I believe someone mentioned wireless connectivity with the headset. Think about the battery life in them, right? How do they charge? Is it an 8-hour battery life? So I always tell people, you get what you pay for, but you generally need to kind of understand how you're going to use it, where you're going to use it, and always look at the warranty side of it. In this particular case, again, the Poly brand in this particular one has a 2-year warranty, no questions asked. There are school districts buying in LA, bought 50,000 of them, just to give you an example. But simple things as headset, where you can look at that, the USB camera, headset, sound systems, microphones. We look at the overall picture. So we look at space, even auditoriums. So start thinking about your auditoriums, how you spread, how can you use your auditorium. We thought about a crown mic in there. We think about other technologies and digital technologies. There's a lot of other new technology, and cost is coming down. I can't stress enough. The digital signs, the displays. You saw the picture, the Zoom kind of format that you see. We call it Hollywood Squares. But that particular format is being built into displays nowadays, because they're knowing the use that you're going to need multiple inputs. And think about your space. We get very creative in using pod spaces. So I think about these places or displays that we're using. We can recreate the space in a classroom. And I do have some other slides, maybe I can add it to this session to kind of give you the future of how the space is going to look, not only in the educational space, but also in the corporate space. Everything is changing. It's not just education.
All right. And just to build off of what Ramon was just saying about the warranties on the microphones, So something that I learned after working for visual sound that I honestly never knew when I was in the classroom is the difference between consumer grade products and professional grade products. So like those microphones, they may actually cost the same as the one you go over to Staples and just pick off the shelf, but they're a higher quality because they're designed to be used. They're not designed for that whole like 5-minute webinar call and then you just hang them up. They're designed for that long-term use, that, you know, that heavy duty use. It's the difference between buying a cheap Dollar Tree item versus buying a Best Buy item. They might be similar, but they're not. In the inside, they're different. And that's something, again, I didn't realize until I started working for an audiovisual company. So it's definitely, before you go spend money on, you know, buying it in bulk from Amazon, definitely look at the products, because if you get something consumer grade, it's going to break easier. And if your kids drop those headphones or pull the cord out of those headphones, it might not be covered. Whereas if you buy something that's specifically designed for use in schools, they're going to have those better warranties on them. So that's a really important like takeaway, is to just make sure what you're purchasing has that long-term value to them, and it's not going to just break within a month and be done.
Great point, Cori. Just to give you another example on that, displays, we kind of use display, they call them prosumer displays, meaning it's professional and consumer. Right in between that line, professional displays, you use them in broadcast type environments, and the consumer. If you use a consumer product in a commercial space, which educational classroom is considered a commercial space, you only get a 90-day warranty with any consumer product. So I get a lot of clients say, hey, look, I can buy the Best Buy for $100 for a 24-inch display or whatever display you need. Well, if it fails within 90 days, and I'll go ahead and authorize that, I just know that I can't warranty it for over 90 days. So keep that in mind. Any consumer product in a commercial space, including education, is only warranted for 90 days.
All right, so we have about 4 minutes left. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Ramon and I thank you all for joining us today. And Ramon, I'm going to let you give the official ending spiel.
Oh, great. So first, we got a few minutes, and I wanted to see if we got any chats, any other questions coming in. I think, so visual sound, but basically I've been in business for over 60-something years. So I myself have been here 20 years and do have a technical background and a veteran. So if you need anything, any other help in any other areas, and just to throw some ideas on how we can help in product selection and network selection, how things are going over the network now, you know, so life is changing. You know, I deal a lot more with the IT directors nowadays, as opposed to, you know, facilities. So please send their contact information at info@visualsound.com. I want to sincerely thank you all for your time today and sharing all your thoughts and your chats. And there's not more powerful than all of us coming together and discuss these ideas and being very impactful in that respect. And so to get some innovative ways of doing things. So I also want to note that Visual Sound has a lot of other presentations. So throughout PETE&C, join us again, please. And if you have any questions again, please feel free to contact Cori, myself, or our entire team. We look forward to seeing you again. And thank you. And Brad, I'll forward it over to you.
Thank you very much, Cori and Ramon, for an outstanding session. Thank you for everyone for attending. Please visit the sponsor gallery to view the resources they are sharing and to earn some game points. They sponsored our conference, and we need your help to thank them for their sponsorship. In addition, please don't miss out on the ongoing discussions in the attendee lounge. This is a great way to connect with the other conference participants. And also remember to check out the session evaluations for Act 48, and they can be found in the attendee lounge under the session evaluations link. And also remember that you will have on-demand access to all the recorded sessions through August 2021. And thank you very much, and have a great afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thank
Brad.
you.
Have a great afternoon, everyone, and join us again.